guessing at the scene of this crime. Baby, I've sought to find out heaven, everything you've left behind. Got the memory of the moment you last lived in my mind. However, heaven right here on earth is now so hard to find. So I will travel to eternity to see creation's most beautiful sight. If to me your heaven, your gates are even open past tonight. And if I say it, you can trust it's true, 'cause I have put my trust in you. So lie is what I must not do, unless in love and just with you. Just with you. Since you left me guessing at the scene of this crime, baby, I've sought to find out heaven, everything you've left behind. Got the memory of the moment you last lived in my mind. However, heaven right here on earth is now so hard to find.
Yeah, I've already told the story.
So I will travel to eternity to see creation's most beautiful sight. If to me your heaven, your gates are even open past tonight. And if I say it, you can trust it's true, 'cause I have put my trust in you. So liar's what I must not do, unless in love and just with you. Just with you. Don't you wonder where the fireflies go when it's raining? No, no, no. Don't it make you wonder where you're supposed to go? And don't you wonder what a yes would mean when you're saying no, no, no? Well, don't it make you wonder what you feel to know? It's just like those fireflies, we got a reason, yeah, a reason to hide, and we want to come out from inside. But we're sleeping with our eyes open wide. Don't you wonder day to day how the sun decided on that beautiful yellow glow? Don't it make you wonder what the time will show you? And don't you wonder why the biggest rocks always tumble while the water always seems to flow? It kinda reminds me of the people I know, and I know you. It's just like the sun in the sky, we got a reason for giving people their darker side, and we want to come out from inside, but we're sleeping with our eyes open wide. Look at don't you wanna day to day, day to day? Don't you wanna day to day, day to day? wonder day to day about the way the words you say, they turn monotone, and that's why you find me here today, singing mellow melodies through the microphone. 'Cause wherever your fears bring you is where I'll see you. You know, people, our fears are the same. Please believe you never really know what it is you could have needed. If it's only what you want, and you never really know what it is you could have seen. If it's only what you've been shown, don't you wonder when the fireflies go and it's raining? No, 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 don't it make you wonder what you're feeling? No. Baby, now I know I loved you like a funny story of a favorite pastime. Remember when you came and sat here at my side? First time I ever really sang my mind. Layla left you for dead, no. Upon return, nobody did I find. I lost my head, left you behind. How I wish I could have turned back that time. Oh. But today I'd say could be a good day. The sun on ocean waves that make the spray that hurtles to my face when I hurt to fill the space between me and the golden rays. Let's play upon this place of ever-cleansing slates and ever-shifting sands, and yet ever-uplifting hands. Baby, now I know I love you more than I ever even could have hoped to last time. Remember when I told you now I walk a lonely road? You couldn't even read the signs. Ready to leave me for dead, no. But upon return, still nobody did I find. I lost my head, left you behind. How I wish I would have turned back the time. Oh. Today I'd say could be a good day. The sun on ocean waves that make the spray that hurtles to my face without her to fill the space between me and the golden rays. Let's play upon this place of ever-cleansing slates and ever-shifting sands, and yet ever-uplifting hands. I fell up out of love. I don't know how I came back down, 'cause I felt like I lost gravity without you around. I don't know if I am stuck or how to get around this ever-growing cavity where once my heart was found. Oh. But today I say it could be, just 'cause the way I say it could be, how to change the way it would be, and you finally understood me.
I guess state schools and just colleges, like the amount of money that flows through is the levels are astronomically high. Compared to what I guess I would expect it to be. Yeah, I'm just not thinking. Okay, and then also one more quick thing, okay? I don't know who this guy is. Okay, I don't want to insult anybody that's come on, okay? But pro-Palestinian people just seem to not know that much. But I got an email. I got a really good email from a pro-Palestinian guy, okay? A great email. This should have been a subreddit post. His email was the most dishonest paragraph on Wikipedia. And he says, you often cite this paragraph in the Oslo Accords wiki. This is the most dishonest shit ever. The continued settlement expansion. While Perez had limited settlement construction at the request of the U.S. Secretary of State, Madeleine Albright, Netanyahu continued construction within existing Israeli settlements and put forward plans for the construction of a new neighborhood, Har Homa in East Jerusalem. However, he fell far short of the Shamir government's 91 to 92 levels and refrained from building new settlements, although the Oslo Agreement stipulated no such ban, construction of housing units. So before Oslo, we have 14,000 from 91 to 92, and then after Oslo, here is the construction. It's actually a little bit annoying because one of the things that I've given in the past as a piece of advice is whenever people pick like particular time frames or give you very specific stats, you should always be a little bit skeptical of that. So for instance, somebody says like, oh, women are more depressed now than ever. And you're like, well, how do you know that? Well, because women ages 24 to 32 and a half that are Hispanic actually report 2 times increased rate. And it's like, why the fuck is that so specific? Makes me think you're lying, right? Just like as a general thing, right? Now, I guess I was just looking at this because, oh, maybe it's before Oslo, and then this is after Oslo, so the years right before. But in my mind, I should have been thinking, like, I probably should have a larger time span for this. That would have been like a protective measure in my brain. Would have been good to know. But anyway, this guy sent me a picture of, let's see if I can find this. Construction starts in settlements by year, Israeli Central Bureau of Statistics. wait, this is not the same thing. Okay, fuck. I don't know where his thing comes from 100%. I'm gonna assume he's not making it all out. 1 sec. Boom. Because he has a graph for it. He has a nice image. Destiny, while you were researching this, you said exactly, why are these years so specific? Oh, interesting. Oh, then I might have, maybe I did say that, but I didn't do further digging to it. Or I might have asked the stream team, we just couldn't find it. But anyway, he sent me this graph for this, right? Now, this is interesting because it does recontextualize those 91 to 92 numbers a lot. These are insanely high numbers for 91, 92, right? And to point to just these numbers and to say, well, once the Oslo Accords went into play, the overall construction seemed to decline quite a bit. Well, true compared to 91, 92, but historically, I don't know if that is that true, right? So it's good to have this full graph. So the next paragraph he says is, the wiki implies the massive, unusual spike in 91 to 92 is the historic normal. So you're definitely wondering what happened in 91, 92. This can be traced to Israel's largest, by far, wave of immigrants since its inception. And then he links the Jewish Virtual Library from 91 to 92 is when you get, I guess, big, these years, huge immigration. This happened because the Soviet Union, in its final years, lifted its ban on Jewish migration to Israel. Comparing 91 to 92 to 96 to 97 is insanely dishonest, and Bibi was PM from 96 to 99 as well. Also, the claim in the paragraph that Paris was pressured by Albright is just not true. The citation is completely irrelevant. I can't speak to that, but there were no new settlements post-Oslo, right? Solely relying on the number of new settlements is a fundamentally flawed way of assessing whether settlement expansion is taking place. And then he lists 5 points. 1, Israel gets to arbitrarily define the difference between settlements and new neighborhoods. Here are some of the worst examples that I could find. And then he lists 5... Following the government decision in April 2012 to retroactively legalize 3 outposts, Rehalem, Sansana, and Brushin, and to declare them as new settlements, the commander of the Central Command issued a few days ago a military order officially establishing the boundaries of Rehalem. So here, this is, I guess, like, basically they're expanding this thing here. And then he says, so here are some of the worst examples that I could find. Blah, blah, blah. Must trace back to illegal outposts built in the Oslo/Camp David era being retroactively legalized as new neighborhoods of existing settlements, despite sometimes being kilometers away. So that's a really good example of tricky words being dishonest that are, right? And, fuck. This guy's email is so good. It's really good because it plugs into and it directly counters something that I have said. So what I've said was the expansion of settlements was different after the Oslo Accords because all they did was like build new houses out to expand like neighborhoods for existing settlements, which is true. But this guy's counter to that, which is a really good counter, is you're right, but what you don't realize is they didn't just expand new neighborhoods. Sometimes those new neighborhoods are actually miles away from the original settlement, which is a tricky and dishonest way of saying you're only expanding a settlement when in reality you're kind of sort of starting a new one or building another one miles away, right? Which is a really, really good point, an interesting point. Number 2, if you want to measure settlement expansion by number of settlements, then you must believe that settlement expansion is not currently taking place and basically has not for the last 30 years. Only one new official settlement in the last 20 years. Actually, you also have to believe settlement expansion started to decline before Oslo, which doesn't make sense. Number 3, the number of outposts tacitly endorsed by the government must also be considered. Israel secretly funded illegal, according to Israel, outposts and provided utilities and constructed roads for them, tore down some of the smaller outposts, then started a process of legalizing most of them in the 2010s, and he provides more. There's tons of links to this in here, too. Outpost construction started under Bibi in the 90s, so no, he did not just continue Rabin's settlement freeze, like you've claimed before. In fact, he immediately lifted it, and he gives another link here. A good variety of sources, too. Israel will allow settlers to build. This is from 96, so we're 3 years into Oslo here, right? The Likud government of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu took one of its first specific steps today towards reversing the dovish policies of its predecessors, lifting a 4-year-old ban on the expansion of settlements in the West Bank of Gaza. The cabinet decision left Jewish settlers gloating that the pendulum of Israeli politics has swung their way, while both Israeli and Palestinian opponents of the move warned that settlement expansion would unravel peace agreements. In abolishing the ban on new construction, Mr. Netanyahu's government also did away with the ministerial committee that had reviewed building requests, leaving approval of new construction up to the defense minister alone. Yeah, so assuming he's not misquoting any of this. Note 2, Rabin settlement freeze obviously excluded East Jerusalem, but it also excluded the Jordan Valley and Golan Heights, surprisingly, so it's less extensive or expensive than it appears. I think he meant to say extensive. Number 4, new official settlements are a bad look internationally, so there is strong incentive to keep them low. The Bush 41 admin based was putting real pressure on Israel in the early 90s to stop settlement expansion, but this pressure stopped later with the Clinton admin cringe, which only expressed disapproval. This is a Washington Post article. Copy link address. Baker bars Israeli loan aid unless settlements are halted. Secretary of State James A. Baker gave Israel a blunt public warning yesterday that unless it stops building Jewish settlements in occupied territories, it will not get $10 billion in U.S. loan guarantees to help resolve hundreds of thousands of immigrants from the former Soviet Union. So Obama pressured the settlements, but I think he only did it with like mean words. This is actually a really good form, a really positive form, you know, congrats to Bush, on actual pressure here. Like, oh, you want loan guarantees from the United States? Okay, that's cool. This needs to stop or you're not getting this. This is a good form of, like, pressure, I would say. Stronger than what I'm aware of existed under Obama. Because I think Obama was only harsh consternation. That's a good word. Isn't that correct? Feelings of anxiety or dismay, typically it's something unexpected. Nope, never mind. That was not. It was a stern warning, is what Obama did. Oh yeah, this would have been Bush Senior. Sorry, because this is Cold War post-Soviet collapse. Sorry. How much does this change in your analysis of the Oslo Accords? The overall impression has not changed that much, but it does shade it a bit differently. Yeah. And it does put more culpability on the side of the Israelis here for being more antagonistic post-Oslo Accords. And I'll no longer say that, well, look, even Netanyahu, because some talking points I had before was Netanyahu, technically, even when he was, he chilled post-Oslo Accords to settlement expansion, blah, blah, blah. No, I don't think that's true anymore. I don't think that's true. Based on what I've been provided here, it doesn't seem to be the case. And settlers were still pretty aggressively expanding, even in the Oslo Accord era. But, and then 5, it's harder to artificially manipulate construction numbers, and even harder for population numbers. Reasonable counter-arguments from Oslo to today, while still above total population growth, settler population growth has been on the decline. I made this chart from this, and this data. Oh, okay, so he's making some of these charts. Boom, boom. Settler growth versus total population growth versus new settlement construction. So settler growth is percentage growth in population, and then population growth is down here, and then new construction starts here. This excludes East Jerusalem from settler population constructions, and constructions exclude illegal outposts where are targeted legalized. This is true, but it's hard to compare percentages like this. Israel's population in 1980 was nearly 4 million, while the settler population was around 10,000. Any changes in the early settler population are going to be naturally exaggerated compared to the general, hence the common talking point. Settler population doubling from 92 to 2,000, which is technically true. Despite not being a perfect measure because we're starting from a near zero settler population, we still see a slight uptick in population growth under Netanyahu, reversing the trend from under Rabin. So what is the best way of measuring settlement expansion? For starters, settlement expansion within settlements clearly and obviously increased under Netanyahu, particularly in 98 to 99. So you're wrong about that. But regarding expansion into the occupied territories, you have to look at not just the number of new settlements, not just settler population growth, and not just new construction starts, but a combination of everything, including outposts. What is this? But it could be hot chocolate made with water and not milk. You watched them put milk? What kind of milk was it? Yeah, was it 2% or full milk? Oh, so you don't even know. You weren't really watching if you're not even paying attention to that. This could be soy milk. I'm already drinking a soy lint, okay? How much bigger can my boobs get? All right. Okay, but you have to include a combination of everything. So, 1, the number of official new settlements was the same for Rabin and Netanyahu. 2, population growth declined under Rabin and increased slightly for Netanyahu, despite downward pressure from the math. 3, settlement construction starts decreased under Rabin and increased under Netanyahu. And 4, most importantly, Netanyahu tacitly supported illegal outposts, which he later legalized. Under that view, in the Oslo years, settlement expansion into the occupied territories declined under Rabin and grew under Netanyahu. I'm not going to argue that Netanyahu wasn't pressured to follow through with Oslo II, as you've claimed, but you'd better find evidence of him doing so in good faith, because the wiki paragraph is not going to cut it. And the next section is, in one of your recent debates, you mentioned you could be persuaded one way or another on the question of whether we, the U.S., should put pressure on Israel to cut back on settlement expansion. Your argument was because there's no way for us to put pressure on terroristic Palestinians. It doesn't seem fair for us to put pressure on Israel or to reduce settlements. I believe the expectation you put on Palestinians to stop all violence is equally unfair. I recently was I would say that's not fair. I'm not saying they have to stop all violence, but like having a non-terrorist government, I think is an okay thing. I recently was reading this book on Israel-Palestine, which does an excellent job articulating the Israeli, Palestinian, and broader Arab narratives. Here's part of the Palestinian narrative on the failure of Oslo, which I think directly applies to your expectation today. And the book that he's citing is this book. Arabs and Israelis, Conflict and Peacemaking in the Middle East. This book was written in... what is the date? Oh, 2022 is when it was published. And then his quote from the book is, Oslo was unfair to the Palestinians because it front-loaded benefits for the Israelis, for example, a permanent end to Palestinian violence, while back-loading benefits to Palestinians, postponing the resolution of all major issues of the conflict, including that of Palestinian independence and statehood. But meanwhile, Israel continued to build settlements in the occupied Palestinian territories, end quote. It's really hard to expect Palestinians to go into permanent status negotiations in good faith with facts changing on the ground, and it's equally hard to argue, as I think you would, that the facts weren't changing on the ground, from the tunnel incident to Har Homa to expansion of the Hebron settlement 1 week after WYE. I think these are examples of settlement expansions and neighborhood expansions and Western Wall Tunnel riots.
It is done.
Okay. And all the other settlement / outpost expansions / outpost expansion discussed above, all under Netanyahu. I know a full settlement freeze was not technically a part of Oslo II, but the immediate unfreeze of construction and rise of outposts under Bibi did not go unnoticed and, in my view, violated the spirit of the interim agreement. And the next section is, I know what you're thinking, but for the last 20 years, Palestinians want to fight. Look at this poll, which shows 68% approval for armed struggle and 72% approval for October 7th. The great thing about the PCPSR is that they conduct polls every quarter dating back to 2000. So before October 7th, did Palestinians want to fight? When asked about the most effective means of ending the Israeli occupation and establishing a Palestinian state, here are the percentages of Palestinians that chose armed struggle. Other options were negotiations and peaceful popular resistance, sometimes among other options, but there was always the one violent option. So the in 2012, I'm gonna say, hold on 1 second. Is the Cornell thing a private or public event? I'm not sure if it's open to the public or not. I can email and ask. And he links each of the polls here. So appetite basically for should violence be the way to resolve the disputes, and you've got polling data from each of these years, and you can see it basically slowly upticking kind of over time, remaining around like 30 to 50%, varying through here. At the bottom here, he says, note, the results are always higher in Gaza except for today, where it's suddenly swapped to being way higher in the West Bank. My guess is going to be because in Gaza, now that they're getting bombed, they are like, this is probably not a good idea because of the consequences, basically, yeah. Before 2012, this exact question wasn't asked, but you can find some disturbing polling data from 2008 to 2009. Like 67% of people, or Palestinians, support attacks against Israeli civilians, compared to 40% in 2005 and 55% in 2006. Here's my simple hypothesis. Palestinians want to fight when there is fighting, bonus points for high civilian casualties, and over the last 10 years, during periods with no major fighting, most Palestinians did not want to fight. I believe the uniquely high polling data today is yes, partially due to the military success of October 7th, but mainly due to unprecedented destruction in Gaza being witnessed by people in the West Bank on TV and social media, which is supported by the unprecedented swap between Gaza and the West Bank and their support for violence. Since Hamas is authoritarian, Palestinians don't get to choose when to fight, because if they could, they wouldn't. Polls measuring support for Hamas are confounded by opposition to Fatah and should not, in your mind, directly translate to the will to fight. The polls above do ask the question directly and don't seem to agree with your assessment of recent history, especially during times of relative peace. I would argue that 30 to 50% is still a pretty high figure when we're arguing on whether or not to fight, and that let's see, 33, 37, and 24. %33% believe that this is from the year. Oh, fuck, which year did I just click on? I don't remember, but this is so in this poll it says 33% believe negotiation is most effective, 37% think armed action is most effective, 24% think nonviolent popular resistance is the most effective. It's hard to know what those nonviolent people would support if it came to negotiation versus armed action, but regardless. Yeah. All I can ask you, don't say Palestinians always wanted to fight, and instead say some Palestinians wanted to fight in the last 10 years, the share of which has historically been lower than the number of Republicans who believe the 2020 election was stolen, smiley face. I don't know if this like dramatically alters the course of my thoughts on it, but it definitely does like fill out and shade some other parts of it. Yeah, these are really good counter arguments to some of the points that I brought up before. And there are some things that assuming everything in here is true, which I don't think any of it is like, seems to source ready things that I like wouldn't say anymore, for instance. So like that Netanyahu did actually pause or freeze or slow down construction significantly after the Oslo Accords. It doesn't seem to be the case. Yeah, somebody in chat said that it's so retarded that those are actually good pushbacks to things Destiny said in the past, yet no one has ever brought them up since none of these Muppets really. Yeah, the thing that's frustrating is that there are some good pushbacks to some things that I've said, but people just don't know them that much, which is really annoying. Because, and it's not even that like the pushback makes me automatically wrong. It's just that there's an interesting conversation to be had there. Like for instance, one really pro-Zionist talking point over and over again. Here's two that are brought up around Gaza that people don't actually have good. They just aren't aware of it, right? One argument, and I might have even used these in debates just to see if the other person would push back, but I don't want to argue both sides. So one argument given is, well, in 2005, Israel pulled out the settlements from the Gaza Strip, and, you know, they didn't get any peace from it, right? That desire, I believe Sharon himself has said, that desire to pull out settlements from the Gaza Strip, that was not a good faith showing from Israel to show that they can remove the settlements. That was we are trying to shore up our demographic majority in Israel proper, and we just don't want to fuck with the Gaza shit anymore. We're going to pull our people out. To their chagrin, they were like Israeli settlers outside their homes in the Gaza Strip, like trying to fight with soldiers, saying, "Don't take my shit down." Yeah, and they're like, "Nah, fuck it. We're taking all the settlements down in the Gaza Strip." That was a unilateral move, though. That was not a negotiated bilateral. We'll pull out our settlements. You give us this. We do that. Blah blah blah. That was just Israel saying, "Fuck you. We're pulling out our settlements. We want to shore up our demographic majorities in these areas where it's more important." And then I'm guessing, I don't have a source for this, my guess would be to move settlers instead to places like the Golan Heights, which they've since annexed, or places like the West Bank. That would be a good counter argument to me or to anybody else bringing up, well, we pulled out the, not we, but well, you know, Israel pulled out the settlements in 2005 in Gaza and they got, you know, only fighting. Nobody seems to be aware of that. Nobody knows that. I don't know why. That's even listed in the wiki where Sharon has made those comments. A second argument that's brought up very commonly, I think I've used this one a few times, that nobody seems to know, is people talk about how, I think Wiki even brought this up, I didn't say anything. People talk about how in the Gaza Strip, they bring up in the Gaza Strip that Hamas basically couped and killed Fatah after they won their elections and everything. This is true. However, part of the rationale for this, and we did go over this on stream, was there were plans from the United States and Israel to arm Fatah to coup Hamas. And that's part of the reason why Hamas was like, we're killing all you motherfuckers. We won our elections, get the fuck out of here. That's why they were throwing them off of buildings and killing them and shit. But nobody seems to be aware of any of it. So, and there's like
I'm sorry.
What?
I don't want to debate you today, but I want to ask, do you listen when we talk? Like when we debate these things?
Oh no, don't do this.
No, I'm going to ask because during the again, like you said, it doesn't mean you're wrong, but during the conversation with Loanerbox, I brought up that first point, and during a later conversation, I brought up that second point. And you never remember it. I've heard
you
do
might
this
have
so
not,
many
but it's
times.
because, but these are all I don't know where you got them from, but I discovered these on my own before hearing anybody else say them. Somebody linked me the documents relating. I'm 1,000,000% positive. You want to show me sources or whatever, or a clip of you talking about it beforehand, you can. But I was shocked when I found out that Hamas Fatah thing, and it was because people linked me declassified documents in the United States planning on an overthrow of Hamas via arming Fatah. I've never heard.
Yeah, because someone pushed back on me when I brought it up and was like, we went over it. I went over it later on the stream with Justalk. It was like after a day or two after we had discussed it, and he brought it up, and so I went further into it with him. But I did bring it up to you regarding the Fatah.
Okay, you can show me when, but I don't remember this. But also
I can't believe you don't even believe me when I'm just coming in to tell you. It shows the distrust you have for me.
I have distrust for anything if I don't see documents, but I distrust everybody. I have distrust Pisco,
No,
right? We
I'm
fought
just
for
saying that I
5
brought
days.
it up. All I'm saying is that I brought it up.
It is possible you brought it up, and because you didn't have a source for it, I just ignored it. That's possible too, sure. But like, yeah, I only go by what I can source. But I mean, I treat Pisco the exact same way. We argued for 3 days over the January 6th shit, and it wasn't until I saw the actual J6 committee, it's like, okay, now I believe this. I always need sources for everything because everybody says.
I'm not even talking about the believing it. I'm just talking about you believing that I said it. That's it.
Okay. I mean,
So maybe it wasn't until you
saw. But I just
because
don't
I'm
remember.
just when you brought it up, it wasn't like, oh yeah, I think Lycan mentions this at one point when you saw the document yourself. Like none of that clicked for you.
No. Because if I don't see a document, like a lot of people say a lot of random things about everything. But unless I see documents, then I'm like, oh, okay, shit. Wow, DJ Dreamy, thanks for the tier 5 subber.
Have you ever heard of the Goldstone Report?
Have you ever heard of the Turkleton Commission?
Turkle Commission.
I call him Turkleton. We're close friends.
Yeah, what's that YK holiday that the Jewish people celebrate?
Y2K?
No, begins with a Y and a K. I just want to hear how you say it.
Is it Yom Kippur?
Close, Kippur.
Okay.
All right, that's all. Love you.
Bye. Wait, you didn't say you loved him back? Wait, did I not? Oh, I love you like influence.
Don't ruin all that work, huh?
Yeah. Anyway, that was a really good email and a well-sourced email.
I shan't complain.
Can you expand more on the demographics argument you just made, please? Not much more. I would need to look up more. I'm extrapolating a little bit, but when Israel pulled the settlements out from the Gaza Strip, this is a quote from Ehud Olmert, who is Sharon's deputy leader. I don't know what the fuck position this is. Deputy is the Prime Minister of Israel. So the citation here is, "There's no doubt in my mind that very soon the government of Israel is going to have to address the demographic issue with the utmost seriousness and resolve. This issue, above all others, will dictate the solution that we must adopt. In the absence of a negotiated agreement, and I do not believe in the realistic prospect of an agreement, we need to implement a unilateral alternative. More and more Palestinians are uninterested in a negotiated two-state solution because they want to change the essence of the conflict from an Algerian paradigm to a South African one, from a struggle against occupation in their parlance to a struggle for one man, one vote. That is, of course, a much cleaner struggle, much more popular struggle, and ultimately a much more powerful one. For us, it would mean the end of the Jewish state. The parameters of the unilateral solution are to maximize the number of Jews, to minimize the number of Palestinians, not to withdraw to the 67 borders, and not to divide Jerusalem. 23 years ago, Moshe Dayan proposed unilateral autonomy. On the same wavelength, we have to espouse unilateral separation. It would inevitably preclude a dialogue with Palestinians for at least 25 years. This was like all the precursors to the unilateral pullout from the Gaza Strip. The significance of the disengagement plan is the freezing of the peace process, and when you freeze that process, you prevent the establishment of a Palestinian state, you prevent discussion of the refugees, the borders, and Jerusalem effectively. This whole package, called the Palestinian state, with what it entails, has been removed indefinitely from our agenda, and all this with authority and permission, all with a presidential blessing and a ratification of both houses of Congress. That is exactly what happened. You know the term peace process is a bundle of concepts and commitments. Peace process is the establishment of a Palestinian state with all the security risks that entails. Peace process is the evacuation of settlements, it's the return of refugees, it's the partition of Jerusalem, and all of that has now been frozen. What I effectively agreed to with the Americans was that part of the settlements would not be dealt with at all, and the rest will not be dealt with until the Palestinians turn into Finns. That is the significance of what we did. This is in describing the disengagement, yeah. But nobody seems to ever be aware of this, and they always let pro-Zionist people, and sometimes even me in debates, will slide by on that. Well, in 2005, Israel, engaged in unilateral, they pulled all the settlements out of the Gaza Strip, and the violence still happened. This should be the counter-argument, but nobody ever brings any of this up, because nobody's like, for all the the big figures I've argued with, none of them just seem to be familiar with any of it, which is annoying, but yeah. There's a former Israeli advisor to Rabin and Sharon who's a big proponent of that unilateral disengagement. I think we had a conversation. Oh, well. Oh, make sure to wish Eridette a happy birthday. All of this can be true, but that doesn't change that Palestinians elected an internationally recognized terrorist group to lead them. Sure. None of these things necessarily change the overall opinion, because your overall perspective should be built on a plethora of underlying arguments or premises. However, I mean, as arguments get knocked down over time, they can, at the very least, they can change the strength of your convictions, basically. And eventually, the argument will change, right? Yeah. At Destiny, very strong of you to admit you were given a solid counter-argument. I'll take counter-arguments all the time. I have no problem. Again, even though people seem to think one way or another, I technically have no dog in this race, okay? I don't really care about Jews or Palestinians that much. Because, no offense, I don't live there. It's not my direct conflict. I'd be lying to say otherwise. Wherever the best arguments are is whatever side all the time. Just most of the pro-Palestinian, scholarly people or celebs or whatever the fuck I brought on to argue with are just fucking retarded. Too lazy to go to the VOD, but I found multiple entities bringing it up in chat. Bringing what up in chat? Sharon left Gaza in 2005. Said, "Do you want to increase the voting?" Yeah, of course. But we literally, this is not something I discovered later. This is something we discovered during our research, because it's literally listed right there in the wiki. But Destiny, the Gaza settlements were only 8,000 people. Do you really think they went through the insane trouble for demographics? I don't know 100%. I don't know all of the detailed fleshing out there. I'm not entirely sure, but I don't know. I just know that at the very least they stated that, and they had support in the Knesset for that. The point is, I brought it up and you said no one argued against it. I'm sorry, and I love you. When I say no one argued against it, I mean these other celeb type people that I'm running into on Twitter and whatnot. Is who I'm talking about. My beloved, who I love and cherish, my co-host of The Late Game. Unban me and DG. What did I ban you for? Why don't you take responsibility? Oh, I read this really negatively. I think I understand what you're getting at here, though. I bet. Finish this today. What is this? Oh, shitting on Gen Z? Here we go. Yes.
When asked to come in for an 8 a.m. meeting, my Gen Z new hire said, "Ugh, sorry, I can't make it. I have a workout class. Should this be allowed?"
My visceral reaction was, are you fucking kidding me?
No, fully, like, anger, typing this out. I was like, please.
Like, my hand's shaking. It's
You just started this job. I don't give a flying shit about your workout class. Also, an 8 a.m. workout class is too late. Workout at 6, maybe 7.
Right, yeah.
Wait. Oh no. Hold on. Wait. Are they scheduled to work at 8? Or are you asking them to come in early for a meeting? Because that significantly changes how I feel about this argument. If you're asking somebody to come in early, it either needs to be on the schedule really far in advance and, like, negotiated in advance. Fuck you. There are no real-time signaling for a job. Hold up. Wait. I don't actually. And actually, fuck the worker for saying he's got a workout scheduled. The Gen Zer guy saying, I've scheduled a workout, he shouldn't say that. He should say, actually, 8 a.m. is my 45-minute jerk session. I will sit in my bed and I will fucking come for 45 minutes straight because fuck you. Why the fuck would I come in early for a meeting if I have anything else that I want to do? Unless you were put this on the schedule really far in advance, or this is like part of like the job expectations. But
Shit about your work.
does this guy shit on the Gen Zer? Who is this? Hold on. I hate. I'm sorry. Also, you're assuming a whole lot there. I am assuming a whole lot. I'm sorry. Because I worked grave shift. And when you work grave shift, I don't know if it's like this everywhere else. When you work grave shift, people have no concept of respect for time, okay? I would get home from school, if I'm lucky, at 1 or 2 p.m. I would immediately go to sleep, and then I would wake up at 9 p.m. to get ready for work, okay? Because I worked from 10 to 6 or 10 to 8, depending how lazy Mary wanted to be in the mornings. I would get phone calls at 5 o'clock asking if I want to come in an hour too early. I'm fucking sleeping right now. I work grave shift. When the fuck do you think I sleep? The reality is I went to the office and I slept sometimes because fuck my job and fuck that shit. And I will sleep on the job if I can get away with it, okay? Hell yes, I will. You better fucking believe it. But regardless, okay, you don't know that because there are no cameras in the office, okay? Listen. Yeah, I'm sorry. Hold on. Shh. Sorry. One of my few triggers, all right, is companies. Here's my two. Okay, sorry. We're going to be pro-labor today, all right? We're going to be anti-capitalist today, pro-union day. I don't know about unions. Fuck unions, actually. Fuck them. I don't care about unions, okay? Please understand this, all right? Companies do not give a shit about you, okay? Corporations are people. They just happen to be sociopathic, all right? They do not care about you. They will use you. They will churn and burn you, okay? They will stretch that ass out until they fucked every bit of tightness and cum-worthiness out of it, and then they will find a new, fresh, tight asshole. They might even make you train that asshole before they start fucking it and throw you to the curb, okay? Don't ever... Corporations don't like you. They don't care about you. If you don't have it in writing, it don't mean shit, okay? Sometimes you can get a nice boss who can shield you a little bit from the anal penetration. Not always, and only so much, because he's probably getting fucked too, because they're all getting fucked. At the end of the day, everybody in a corporation is getting fucked, all right? You don't owe these motherfuckers anything. You don't even owe them your 2 weeks. You know what? If you got a new job, a totally different industry, all right? Fucking 2-week notice. You don't need it. They don't give you 2-week notice when they fire you. Why the fuck do you need a 2-week notice to leave? That's not a law. You're not gonna get it. You're not gonna get arrested for that, all right? You say, you know what? You don't even tell me you leave. You can quit. It's called no call, no show. 3 days in a row. See ya. Don't actually do that. You don't want to destroy your reputation in an industry. You don't know if you need to go back to the job, but you don't know if you need to use them as a reference. So don't actually do that, okay? But fuck companies, all right? Fuck companies. And if you want to call me in early, you better be paying me fucking 2.5 times. Okay? Bullshit. And if I give you any excuse, what we used to do at the casino is we always used to say we were drinking, and that was it. You know, leave work at 6. You know, Pam, somebody calls you at like 9. It's like, hey, can you come back in for an hour? Sorry, already drunk. I can't work. I'm drunk. You want me to come in? You're at casino, Dram State. There's a lot of regulation. You really want me to come in while I'm drunk? You're really drunk at 9:30. Yeah, I drink, unfortunately, as soon as I leave work because I hate my life because I have to work this job for you. I hate myself. So the only way I can cope with the agony of my existence, knowing that I'm going to have to continue to work for you, is to get wasted immediately as soon as I walk out the fucking door. Sometimes I'll bring little mini shots of rum in my pocket, and I'll get drunk if I even leave the fucking premises. Right after I clock out, all right, I'm intoxicated. Fuck you. I am drunk. Don't call me in early ever. Put it on the schedule. If you want me to come in, put it on the goddamn schedule. Fuck you. Sorry. Okay. God, I hate fucking. Fuck. Sorry. He's about to say some shit that's going to completely counteract everything. We actually hired this employee, and he agreed to all of these meetings in advance, and now he started to change his subject as soon as he got accused of sexual. It's going to be some crazy shit. Sorry. Hold on.
Workout at 6,
Yeah.
maybe 7.
Hi, yeah, Natalie. So, we can talk about this more later, but I'm gonna address this now. It was made very clear
Oh, shit. Never mind. Oh, he's the employee. Oh, shit.
during the interview process that the working hours for this position is between 9 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time, and I am on Eastern Time. I made that very clear.
Oh, so this guy did fuck up because the hours were 9 to 5, and he said that he had to go to the gym at 8. He should have said he was jerking it. He should have said he was masturbating and then shitting into his girlfriend's mouth because that's what he likes to do from 8 to 8:45, and that the last time he checked on his paycheck, they weren't paying him from the hours from 8 to 9 a.m. So that's his time to do whatever the fuck he wants.
HR because I have commitments outside of work. I go to gym, I work out because I care about my health. Sure, I can make a sacrifice.
Wait, also, hold on. I'm so sorry. Hold on. Okay, let me tone this down a lot. Okay, what I just said was half joking in terms of like you do whatever, but seriously, this is in my opinion. I haven't worked in any corporate environment for 15, 20 years, whatever the fuck. So take everything I say with a grain of salt, okay? But in my opinion, if people are asking you to come in early or stay late, and it's not something that you've worked out in advance, and it seems to be in contradiction to the agreed upon schedule, I don't think you should say what you're doing. You should not be in a defensive position trying to justify what you have scheduled outside of work hours. I was half joking about the cum thing, but the point that I'm making is you shouldn't have to say, I go to the gym, I work out, I want to stay healthy, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter what the fuck you do. You can smoke weed, you can get drunk, you can fly to Epstein's Island and visit some of the caged girls. You can do whatever the fuck you want. Don't ever get in the position of thinking you have to fight with a boss to justify what you do off the clock. Right? Is it illegal? Am I going to get fired for this? Am I making the company look bad? Fuck you, fuck no, fuck off. Okay? In my opinion. Don't ever and I've seen this happen. The only reason I'm saying this is because I see this happen when people are fighting over shifts. Where a supervisor, oftentimes, by the way, because companies are too fucking lazy to appropriately hire out to fill their shifts, because for some reason companies just can't comprehend hiring practices. I'm sure there are good reasons for it. But like over COVID, they like expanded their workforce about like 40%, and now you see them firing half their fucking workers. They don't know what the fuck is going on, right? When you get bosses that are arguing with employees, they're like, oh, come on, like, what are you doing? It's like, well, I said I was going to go on a date with my boyfriend, blah, blah, blah. Okay, come on, can't you guys, like, reschedule? You can push it back an hour or two. Maybe. And then now all of a sudden you've got a little lowly employee that's, like, on the back foot trying to, like, justify their private life to their fucking boss who's trying to make them feel guilty, by the way, by roping in the other coworkers, like, well, look, you're going to let your whole coworkers down. No, motherfucker, you let us down by not fucking hiring somebody. You let us down, motherfucker, and now you're asking me to save you. Why the fuck should I save you? Pay me time and a half, motherfucker. You schedule me 12 hours a week? You want me to come in and work 8 more hours? I'm not getting overtime for this. I don't get fucking benefits for this. I'm not getting a fucking award. I'm not getting a gold star, okay? Trump or Biden isn't giving me a speech for this bullshit. Fuck you. No, don't, in my opinion, don't get into the habit, in my opinion. I'm trying. The only reason I'm saying in my opinion is I don't know if there's some weird new rules on a job place that would change this. Don't get into the habit of trying to feel like you have to justify your off-the-clock hobbies or activities to somebody that's trying to make you work more. In my opinion, that's bullshit. In my opinion. Destiny, it's fine if people want to do this, but then they shouldn't complain if they don't get the same promotions or raises that their coworkers do. Raises and promotions are for people that work hard, that are invested, that are effective, and have a wide variety of things that qualify them for leadership positions. Being willing to come in a lot, I am super extrapolating, guys, okay? I'm saying this, okay? So you should be very careful because what I'm saying might not apply at all to modern workplaces, okay? Might not apply at all to modern work environments or different types of work environments. I've only worked in shitty service. I'm talking about a job where I worked as a supervisor for a restaurant, a diner, okay? So take everything I'm saying with a grain of salt. But from what I've seen, whether or not you get promoted or not promoted never has to do with you coming in more hours, ever. There is, just from what I saw for working, there was never a decision between two candidates, and it was like, well, this guy comes in more when we call him to come in. Those people are usually, in my experience, they're losers. It's usually like, this guy has no fucking life. We can always call the student and he'll fucking work more hours, blah, 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 usually. Generally, when people are promoted, it's because they're showing a high aptitude for leadership, because they've also taken some other bullshit side classes for managerial supervisory training. Usually these people are willing to come in. They'll usually willing to yeah, I will come in, I'll work this if you need me to stay here. They'll be flexible with their schedules and whatnot. But don't mistake being a bitch for the corporation, for the company, as being somebody that's going to get promoted. Maybe you'll be able to wiggle out oh, I got a 5% raise this year because I came in so many extra times instead of a 3% raise, maybe. But I don't usually think that's going to be the difference in a promotion or not. It's because you were willing to come in a lot. If you're the type of employee that's on track for promotion because you have that aptitude, you have those skills, and you've proven yourself in that way, I think you'll get the promotion. It's just because you don't want to come in more, unless you've got a huge cock dick boss or whatever, but... Rock'em Lock'em says, bro, it's 1 hour early. I don't know what your job was like, but if I were to show up to work 1 hour late, that counted in my job. I'm pretty sure that was a no-call, no-show. If you go to work 1 hour late, I think if you were late, I think it was an hour or more late. I think that was an automatic no-call, no-show, which in my job, if you did that, it was either once or twice you were fired. But sorry, let this guy explain his shit, sorry.
And I am on Eastern time. I made that very clear with HR because I have commitments outside of work. I go to gym, I work out because I care about my health. Sure, I can make a sacrifice to go to an 8 a.m. meeting had I known at least a week before that I needed to go at 8 a.m., not a day before. Also,
so this is even too reasonable. But yeah, sure. Yeah, this is super reasonable. You tell me a week before, a day before for an 8 a.m. meeting? Eat my entire fucking dick.
Also, my workout class starts at 7:30, not at 8, but I didn't know that I needed to tell you that. Okay, let's just say I skipped the...
True, you don't need to tell her that. True, he's on the right track. Good job.
Two things. When can I expect you to reimburse...
Also, no offense, but 8 a.m. meeting? Bro, it's the first 15 minutes is going to be people complaining about how tired they are, people coming in late with getting coffee. Fuck that. 8 a.m. bullshit. Fuck you. No, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm projecting a little bit there, but...
I didn't know that I needed to tell you that. Okay, let's just say I skipped the gym. Two things. When can I expect you to reimburse me for my class? And two, are you going to be paying me from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. or at the very least, let me leave at 4 p.m.?
Okay, these are kind of okay questions to ask in advance, but in my opinion, my hourly rate is for what you're posting on the schedule. I say this, but I was such a pushover bitch at my job, okay? I'm the biggest bitch cuck in the world. Do as I say, not as I do, guys, okay? I'm a fucking pushover. I am a spineless fuck, okay? Remember, do as I say. I big dog it when I give you guys advice, and then I small dog it when I am cucking out to companies, okay? But, yeah, just getting paid from 8 to 9, they probably would pay you, but that's not enough. They're calling you in on a day's notice, on 12 hours notice almost, 24 hours notice from this meeting, okay? Fuck just getting paid, and fuck leaving an hour early.
From 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. or at the very least, let me leave at 4 p.m. Natalie, if your answer to both of those are no, then there's no discussion needed. I will see you at 9 o'clock today. Also, I sent an email to HR about this and sent them the link to that TikTok video. So, just to make things clear. Let me leave at 4 p.m. Natalie, if your answer to both of those are no, then there's no... Say I skipped the gym. Two things. When can I expect you to reimburse me for my class? And two, are you going to be paying me from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. or at the very least, let me leave at 4 p.m.? Natalie, if you're...
no, even if you're going to compensate it, fuck that. But
answer to both of those are no, then there's no discussion needed. I will see you at 9 o'clock today.
Destiny, you are wrong. Doing any of this shit will get you fucked. Thanks for clarifying. You didn't do any of this shit. LOL. Now it makes sense. well, technically I did all of this shit. I don't know what you're talking about. I did all of this shit, and I still got fucked. I missed 1 day of work, I think, in the 2 or 3 years that I worked there. My best friend killed himself, okay? No, highly dramatic fashion. And then I got promoted incredibly quickly, okay? I think I was the only black badge employee, meaning I was a minor, and I needed a fucking hand-holding adult to go onto the fucking carpeted floor, okay? I was a really good employee. And I came in early. That's why I quit school, because I was working 60-hour weeks. I did all of that shit, and I still got fired. How did he kill himself? He laid down on some train tracks and got ran over by a train.
Also, guys said
Giga Chad. Yep, being a cuck gets you places. Unlucky you got fired, though. I mean, cucking out in some ways will get you places, but just like working a lot of hours, I don't think generally do it. Was he Indian? No, he was Mexican. What also kind of sucks is when you get older, employees who make younger employees take the less desirable hours and responsibilities because they don't have kids or whatever else. Yeah, that's kind of annoying for sure. Uh-oh.
I'm back.
Oh, hi.
Hi, for a different topic for this.
Uh-oh.
If you're a 9-to-5 salaried position, unless your contract states your hours are to be button seat 9 to 5, that people will say we typically work 9 to 5. That's usually what someone would have said in a conversation during an interview. But be called in and say, hey, we need you to come in at 8 for a meeting. That's not out of the ordinary.
Sure. If you're salaried, I can probably believe that. Yeah. I don't think this guy was, though. But if you're salaried, yeah. But if you're salaried and you're taking my advice, you're fucking retarded. Salaried people live by a whole different set of rules.
Yes.
Where there's an expectation of, from what I've seen in the past, anywhere from 40 to 55 hours a week of work that's going to be kind of awkwardly scheduled. You might have to fill in shifts. You might have awkward... Like, yeah, sure.
But if someone's being called in for a meeting. Now, granted, I'm making assumptions too here, right? That this isn't like some staff meeting for, I don't know, shift work or something like that, right? But if he's not doing shift work, if he's shift work, it's 9 to 5. But if he's not doing shift work, it's like, hey, we need you to come in. We have a meeting tomorrow at 8 with a client or something like that. That is completely normal. And no, you don't get to leave at 4 then. Sometimes if it's like, hey, I came in early, you can do that. But if there's still shit to do, yeah, you do stay till 5. Or you take your computer home and you finish work.
Sure, but I mean, he made it sound like they told him, they gave him an expectation of hours, that the working hours for this position are 9 to 5 Eastern time, and that,
And that's where trusting this person to be accurately giving that side of the story. And this is the person who was not mentioned by name and then sent it to HR. I'm sorry, HR doesn't give a shit. You are allowed to talk about your employees in you're allowed to say, like, I had this one employee who did X, Y, and Z, and if you don't drop their name, you're doing nothing illegal, and HR isn't going to fuck you. Fuck them. They might. The only thing
they're not doing anything illegal, but I bet HR would fuck you if you were yeah, go ahead.
All you're gonna get is like a, hey, don't talk about company business on the podcast.
Yeah.
Unless that's the fucking podcast is the business, maybe. I don't know.
Well, I'm just if you work for a company and it's easy to figure out like what that company is, and you're talking disparagingly about employees, I bet HR would fuck you with the longest double-sided dragon dildo. They would come down really hard on that. Why the fuck are you talking about internal employee stuff, especially because if this escalated? Sorry, now I'm in corporate HR brain mode. Because for HR, what HR is always thinking is like, if this escalates, like, where does this come back to us? Like, how fucked are we? And what if they find out that there's some other weird, fucking, horrible shit? And now HR has lost all control of the situation because this fucking blabbermouth started talking about everything. So their wiggle room in the negotiating room is significantly decreased. And if lawsuits or whatever, for whatever reason, could become involved in the future, poof! You don't want the fact that this retard was sanctioned on a public podcast? Yeah, not good. Yeah.
I agree with you if the circumstances were something other than a smart ass saying, I'm not coming in at 8. I have a workout to do. Like,
I feel like the responsible thing yeah, but I feel like
the responsible thing is to never talk about any of it.
Well,
right?
no. The responsible thing is to just make a general complaint. Have you heard about these like Gen Zers that sometimes will skip meetings because of blah blah blah? Or if you want to talk about something from a prior job, I think you're probably safe there. But otherwise, because the problem is like I understand what you're saying now, but like because from what we can see, but like imagine there's the case where Imagine there is a case. I'm just rolling with this, okay? Imagine there's a case where somebody else on the job call this guy like a racial slur, or he gets fired and he feels like there's like a racial motivation. And then imagine this guy goes and he talks to a bunch of other employees and he finds out from every other employee, hey, when we said that we had to work out, she actually said, oh, it was cool, don't worry about it. And he finds out, well, I'm the only one that you made a big stink about it to. And now you've got her public admission to making a big stink about it. Maybe she didn't actually text him that. Maybe they had a phone call. Now the only piece of evidence showing that she actually pushed back on him is solidified, immortalized video on the internet. Now that's why I'm saying there's just like in unbelievably dumb ways, stuff like this can come back to bite you in the ass, which is why I think HR would look at a manager and say, what, you should never be talking about employee stuff like this ever on a public platform.
So that's why like this is a, you know, in certain circumstances, yes, you make yourself a huge liability. Your comments a liability for the company, 1000%. But I'm saying if we're just talking about, you know, some employee, you know, giving some lip or being offended that you asked them to come in when they're salaried and they're shirking off meetings or saying things like, well, I have a workout. It's just on the lowest rung of possible exposure for the company.
Potentially, but a company is going to take the same approach. They're going to say, don't do this ever. Don't ever do this.
Yeah, sure, but that's not going to be fucking with a 30-foot pole, right? That's going to be a, hey, you can't do this. But in the example
sure, I don't think she's going to get like
there's...
fired immediately or something. Sure. Yeah. But I'm saying that no HR department would ever want any management on podcasts or anything like this. Like, yeah.
Do we know, just because this person saw this podcast and whatnot, is this like the company?
I have no idea. This could all just be a giant fucking skit, or it could be fake. I'm watching it assuming it's real. But...
True. We don't know if that guy's actually employed. Yeah. That was it. I just, as far as like the 9 to 5 and the meeting thing, that's my biggest issue. It's like, if you're salaried, which it sounds like this person is, it sounds like someone said we usually work 9 to 5, like those are your hours. But in salaried work, it's never consistently that.
Yeah, I agree. Well, assuming that's your deal. Yeah. Okay.
All right. Bye.
Bye. Okay, people are saying, here is her response, I found it, and then other people are saying that it is fake.
Okay, so the past 24 hours have been crazy, and I just want to clear some things up. That video...
This was just me doing a response saying, hypothetically. Wait, finish the original? We did finish the original.
that I made was my genuine reaction to the situation in the form of a skit. I should have made that clearer, and I'm sorry. But what I said is true and is what I would say if I were in that situation, which I have in the past, and back then I did not stand up for myself. Employers need to understand that we all have commitments outside of work. We have a life outside of work. When I'm at work, I'm going to do my job. Outside of work, I will focus on myself, my hobbies, my...
That's true, but it depends on what your work agreement is, right? So it's kind of dumb if he's going to get indignant about this now when you don't actually know what the contract was, what the offer was, what the hours were for the employee, right?
My goals, and one of those is my health. I made that video to empower people to speak up for themselves and set boundaries at work, especially if it's for your health. I know people who skip meals, lunches, and sit for 8 hours straight, starving and overworked, and basically sacrifice...
Well, okay, this now, fuck. I had my Gen Z supportive soy moment today. But this guy is actually, he's not insightful. He's not intelligent. It's just more Gen Z brain rot. Never mind. He's just he's another Gen Z retard. I'm sorry. I tried, guys. I tried. Okay, I did.
Lunches and sit for 8 hours straight, starving and overworked, and basically sacrificing their own well-being for their job. And it should not be like that 90% of the time. Employers should never feel entitled to their employees' time outside of regular working hours. And those that do, no one's ever gonna win.
What if the whole thing is a bit? Then what if he said, actually, me and the lady did a bit together?
Also, an 8 a.m. workout class is too late. Workout at 6, maybe 7.
Hi, yeah, Natalie. So we can talk about this more later, but I'm gonna address this now. It was made very clear during the
we lot of heat and
for this position.
Hi everyone, I'm the person in that video. First things first, we made the decision to take down the video so it's no longer there. We got a lot of heat, and rightfully so. It was getting vicious in the comments. We decided to take it down. To be clear, we fully deserve this heat. I do feel like...
Oh, and she's cucking out completely. So was she in the wrong, or...?
With many things on the internet, a little context helps. And I think what we didn't do is provide that context, and that is on us. First of all, I want to clarify. I went straight in...
Someone in KickChat says, I said it's not always true. I work big law, and there is not a single person in the entire finance / big law / big accounting world that works 9 to 5 non. Okay, hold on. I can't believe I have to do this. Let me make 2 or 3 big qualifiers of what I'm saying. Number one, I'm only talking about the United States. I can't speak to your labor laws or expectations or whatever in any other country. So I'm only speaking about the United States, number one. Number two, if you're earning like $250,000 a year or more, and you're like in an exceptional working circumstance, obviously nothing I'm saying is applying to you. I'm talking about, these are for my boys down in service and retail, okay? This is who I'm talking about now. This is for my guys out there, okay, making 45 a year or less, okay? That's what I'm speaking about. If you're like a partner at a law firm, or if you're doing crunch time or on tax season for an accounting firm, especially like a public accounting firm or whatever, right? Yeah. If you're doing anything like this, obviously the situation is gonna be a lot different for you. If you're making a fuck ton of money and you're like working crazy hours or blah, 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 that's a totally different environment. But also, if you think I'm talking about you, you're fucking retarded. And I don't think those people think I'm talking about them. I don't think there's some guy listening to me whose total compensation for Amazon or Google is $450,000 a year. And he's like, damn, Destiny's right. Like, I shouldn't be coming in for the 8 a.m. stand-ups or whatever the fuck, okay? Also, I had a talk off stream with an efficiency coordinator, consultant, organizer, and I'm hiring for a Scrum Master. And we are going to be doing daily stand-ups on stream on DGG, and I need Cake and Jader and Forethought to all report every morning, and we're going to publicly have them talk about the projects they're working on, what they're doing. Yeah, we're going to be doing 8 a.m. stand-ups, guys, okay? EST. So if you live in California, that's 5 a.m., all right? We're going to spend the next 3 weeks studying Agile, all right?
A listener story that was submitted, and it sounded like I was just talking about my own Gen Z employee that I was disgusted with for working out at 8 a.m. in the morning. This has nothing to do with me, my company, anyone who works for me.
Hi, Demoted Pod. I need to rant. I have a Gen Z new hire. When asked to come in for an 8 a.m. meeting, my Gen Z new hire said, ugh, sorry, can't make it. I have a workout class. Here's some additional info on our team / this meeting. 1, we have one 8 a.m. meeting quarterly. 2, we tell every new hire about this meeting when they sign. And 3, these meetings are to include our international team members in Europe and India. I can't handle this shit. Well, hold on. Did you give the notice in advance, or is this supposed to be like you can say it the next day? Or I feel like you need one more piece of information there, but...
This is a listener submitted story from someone who works in consulting. This is the email with the additional context.
Also, no offense, and I don't mean to call anybody out or do anything. When somebody says they work in consulting, I don't believe it. I don't believe those are real jobs, and I don't think they do anything. Because every time I ask somebody who works in consulting, when I try to ask them, like, oh, like, what do you do? Like, when you say consult, like, what kind of consulting or whatever, I never get a real answer. I don't think that's real work. I think we need to shut consulting down until we can figure out what the hell is going on, okay? Because I don't know what the fuck consultants do.
Additional context we were given. This is one meeting that happens quarterly that they can include all of their international team members on. It's just something that's part of the team ethos, and I guess it's communicated to all new hires before they sign. And it is to include those team members in Europe and India, and it's obviously hard to find a time that works for everyone. Just to be clear, if you're not getting paid to work before 9 a.m., you do not have to work before 9 a.m. Do not condone that in the slightest. This is for a salaried employee once a quarter. Do not know what their salary.
Okay, so, yep. So if you're salaried, and you know this if you're salaried, your hourly expectations can fluctuate or vary. I think at the 2 restaurants, at McDonald's and at the casino that I worked at, I think salaried employees were expected to work, I think it was roughly 45 hours a week, give or take. During promotional seasons or specials, they might be working 50, 55 hours a week, or 60 if they've got to cover shifts. And during really slow periods, sometimes if you're salaried, I don't think supervisors were ever salaried, but if you're a manager salaried, no, supervisors sometimes are salaried, I think at McDonald's. You might like go home early if it's like really slow and you've got other people to cover it, like a shift lead or some shit, yeah.
Salary is, but I looked up consulting salaries and it's somewhere within the range of 100 to 120 base. So it's not an hourly employee. If you are hourly or you work a job that the hours are strictly 9 to 5, please do not work outside those hours. You're not getting compensated for it, and that's not worth it. Again, the way the social clip was cut and just the things we were saying and how we were reacting and getting so fired up about it, totally take ownership for that. We will take the heat. We will wear it. If you want to attack us in the comments, absolutely go for it. I love you all. I support all of you in your work decisions. And if you want to do an 8 a.m. workout class, go for it.
I can take common, turn it special.
He slayed you. You could have just said sorry. It's giving corporate Aaron. Corporate people never say sorry at all. I should get paid for watching this video because it's feeling like a work call. It's the patronizing tone for me. HR should be involved. It's a hostile work environment now. The switch up is crazy. Bro, just say I'm sorry. Post the whole email. Cropped out the time and date stamp. Lol.
Disgusted.
The
with-
funny thing is, oh, where's Hideo Kojima?
For context.
The funny thing is that like theoretically, this whole online interaction
Straight
and
into
everything
nurse.
generated from it,
And it sounded like I was just the employee that was.
could have
This has
literally been based on fake shit after fake shit. It could, because we don't even know if this person is real. This might be a fake email, and then that one guy's skit response to it might have been fake, and then everything about this might just be completely fabricated. Dustin, I'm a senior analysis and economic consulting. We do econometrics to support expert testimony and antitrust litigation. Working on a generic medicines price fixing case today. Acknowledge my existence. Okay, Mike Wazowski. Thank you. BuzzFeed wrote a story on this. I don't care. Okay, don't care about this. Oh.
Cursor where I
Give me one more thing to complain about on the iPhone real quick.
on it. That's like 3 additional steps. Where if I was on Android, I can just take my cursor and tap anywhere and the cursor automatically goes into the word. So there's no long presses, there's no additional steps, it's just one click and done. I think you're kind of noticing a theme throughout all of this. I can get more done faster with Android than I can with iPhone so far. I know it sounds petty, but my phone is a tool. I use it a lot, and each of these little tiny clicks, these little gestures, these swipes, they all add up to additional time throughout the day, time I don't want to spend looking at my phone. Let me get into the deal breakers. There are 3 of these.
We are going to watch this. Never mind, we're watching the rest of this.
And they're the reason why I'm returning to Android and never looking back. We'll count backwards this time, starting with number 3. The iPhone does not have any fail-safes to compensate for my own incompetence. And let me explain. Last night when I got into bed at 1 a.m., I set my alarm for 8 a.m. the next morning. But in my tired state and my mind that wasn't quite functioning correctly, I accidentally set my alarm for 8.
Oh, he's going to bring up how I think on the next screen it'll say your alarm is set to go off in how many hours.
PM, which was actually 19 hours away, and I totally slept in. On Android, though, if I set my alarm at night, it throws up a little on-screen message saying, hey, you have 13 hours of sleep.
Based and
I would
true.
know instantly if I set my alarm for the wrong time without even having to think about it. I know I'm not going to sleep for 19 hours and something's wrong. It's a fail-safe, a safety factor, something that keeps me from messing up. The iPhone doesn't have it. The Android does with less clicks. Also, if I'm ever plugging in my Android phone, it kind of does the same thing with the charger. I can plug it into the bottom, turn off my phone, and then it tells me down at the bottom I have 27 minutes left until it's full.
I'd rather get a really good screwdriver than a shitty multi-tool. Android is the multi-tool. iPhone is a high-quality screwdriver. You know what? That's actually more true than you realize because people that buy iPhones literally just use them as the world's most expensive texting device. It's literally all they use it for. So thank you for the comment.
Just a little more tidbit, little piece of information that I enjoy having that the iPhone doesn't give me. Major deal breaker number 2 is Gmail. I feel like Apple is kind of throttling, Google services. It might be my imagination. There might be some rivalry going on, but the notifications and the way I can answer emails on iPhone isn't sufficient.
And the camera, to be fair. In my opinion, there's no reason to pick one phone or another these days over the camera. Cameras are really good on all the Galaxy phones, on the Pixel phones, on the iPhones. Like, nobody's ever looking at a picture like, God, I just wish you'd taken this on an iPhone instead. Like, the quality on this 2024, 2023 smartphone is just not as good as the iPhone or the Galaxy or all the camera quality these days are really, really, really fine. What other reasons would you use a phone? What do you mean? How about for a technology that wasn't invented in fucking 1992? Okay, what are you talking about? Why would I buy a phone for SMS? I can get a 30-year phone that does that.
With my Android phone, I can almost read the entire email from the text message. This is from one of my engineers over at my off-road wheelchair company. I can see the entire email, decide if I want to
Off-road wheelchair company? Holy shit.
click in and respond, or just leave it unread so I know I have to go back and respond later. If it's unread in my inbox, I know I have to read it and respond. However, with iPhone, if we drop down and look at the notification, I can only see maybe the who it's from and the
True! See, he feels the same way! Notifications were the deal breaker for me. That's why I will never use an iPhone solely. I can't do it.
sentence, which isn't very helpful, and if I click into it, it marks it as read with no option to mark it as unread in the inbox. So I have to put a star next to it or something, which isn't as efficient as just leaving it unread. It's my quick and dirty way of making sure that I stay on top of important emails, and maybe there's a better way of doing it. It's just the way that I do it, and it works much better with Android since I can read my emails while still leaving them.
His wife is paralyzed and they have crazy off-road wheelchairs. That's baller as fuck. An off-road wheelchair? That sounds like the start of like a fucking Hitman movie or some shit. Like we hire this dude, but he's a fucking cripple. And you're like, how the fuck is a cripple gonna do anything? They're going to the Amazon rainforest and you see this dude in this like fucking monster of an off-roading wheelchair. You can swap guns, you've got backpacks, you never get tired.
Unread for when I actually sit down on my computer again. And finally, number one, the final and largest reason that I cannot continue using an iPhone is this. I cannot schedule a text message with an iPhone. And for you iPhone users, let me...
What the fuck? Why, you schedule text messages? That's kind of weird. Okay. I don't even know you could do that, but alright.
Explain what you're missing. Let's say it's late at night. I think it's something...
What do you do on your phone besides texting, calling, browsing Reddit, and TikTok? You're making it seem like phones are some professional devices? What do you mean? I manage emails, Discord messages, my server, whatever web bullshit you have to do. Any number of fucking like messaging apps. It might be Instagram, it might be Twitter, it might be TikTok. Depending on applications you use, you can schedule shit or interface with like your YouTube channel. I used to use an app before to schedule multi-releases on like different platforms for short form videos and shit. You can do a fuck ton of things professionally on your phone. Beyond just texting. You can stream my phone. Yeah, you can also check like things like your Reddit, your like Twitter feed if you just want to read shit too. What do you mean, what else would you do with your phone? Read Wikipedia?
I want to tell someone, but it's late at night and it's not socially acceptable to be calling or texting, I can schedule a text message to arrive the next morning when they're actually awake. And then I don't have to think about that message or that thought that I was going to tell them until the morning. It's already gone out of my head and I can use my brain cells because there's few of them for something else. And that scheduled text message will just sit in the thread until the phone sends it by itself when the time comes. It's like when I was building my bunker and I needed to text the excavator something about the job. It would be unprofessional of me to text them after hours when they're not getting paid, so I can schedule a text message to arrive when about the job until the out of my head and I can use my brain cells because there's few of them for something else. And that scheduled text message will just sit in the thread until the phone sends it by itself when the time comes. It's like when I was building my bunker and I needed to text the excavator something about the job.
I guess you could do that, but bro, if you don't want to get text past 10 p.m., just put your phone on fucking silent.
Be unprofessional of me to text them after hours when they're not getting paid, so I can schedule a text message to arrive when they're on the clock. Also, like I said earlier, I manufacture my own wheelchairs, and as a boss, I should not be texting people when they're not getting paid, so I can schedule my good ideas that I have in the afternoon or evening to arrive at my guys' phones in the morning, so one...
Bro, what? Okay, now I'm going pro corporation side. Okay, listen, the whole reason why our employees have phones is so we can fucking pester them off the clock, okay? Hell yeah. Shoot messages to these motherfuckers and make them know exactly what's expected of them, okay? Communicate as much as possible, alright? These are the best times to communicate with your employees, because now they're putting brain power and thought into the job, and you don't even have to fucking pay them for it. Yes!
And they're thinking about it. 2, they don't forget about it. And 3, so they're actually getting paid when they're thinking about work. Don't let your boss text you after hours. Scheduling text message is such an efficient life hack, it is unreal, and I cannot live my life without that feature. Plus, when...
Destiny, do you see a future where the full-time 40-hour work week changes? I've always heard people used to work Monday through Saturday until Ford started letting employees off on Saturday. I feel like the 40-hour work week is like a vestige of the past, and we're just waiting for some company to be brave enough to break it. It's one of those things that like everybody thinks can't change, and everybody will make fun of people for trying to change it. But then like I feel like one company's going to change it, and then everybody's going to follow suit. We're just waiting for that brave new company to take the first step, right? It was the same thing with removing the headphone jack. Everybody made fun of Apple for it, and then everybody did it the next quarter. It was the same thing with charging API fees. Everybody made fun of Twitter for it. And then or Reddit for it, I think, and then everybody else started doing it, or making fun of Twitter for membership fees, and then everybody else started doing it. Like, I feel like usually people are, yeah, I think when people start making big changes, I think everybody else will follow suit, yeah, I think, but. Are you saying increase it or decrease it? Probably. Unless you're working like a service job where you need to be like there the whole time, probably decrease it. I think it just, based on what I hear, it seems silly, but I don't know.
When people respond and text back, it's almost as if they text me first, which is always nice. When I was using this phone, I would schedule text messages every single day, and with the iPhone, I just can't even. My Android phone is a round-the-clock personal assistant. While my iPhone does work, it just takes more work to do the things that I want to do. So it's not worth it for me. Now, I have heard from people around me that if you delve deeper into Apple's ecosystem, you know, buy an iPad, buy a MacBook, and buy everything that, you know, Apple does a really good job of working together, but I'm not about to drop $5,000 on a laptop just to test that theory out. So I am switching back to Android, and I've been looking forward to it for a very long time. I gave iPhone a valid shot. I really did. After 13 years, seeing what they had, I decided, you know, it's just not for me. It probably works great for a lot of people, and that's okay. I'm switching for the first time to a folding Android phone, the Galaxy Flip 5 from Samsung. Honestly, I don't think it's going to survive my lifestyle. We have a little farm here at the house. I do construction. I'm around metal shavings a lot. I don't think a fragile center screen is going to live. I give it 5 months. Let me know what you think about this whole Android iPhone thing. What phone do you use? And do the things that bother me about the iPhone bother you? I'm curious. And maybe I was doing something wrong. I don't know. Let me know down in the comments. And thanks a ton for watching. I'll see you around.
God, the Onion used to be so good.
Buzzing over Apple's latest must-have gadget, the MacBook Wheel, a revolutionary new laptop that does away with the keyboard. Tech Trends reporter Jeff Tate has more.
Thanks, Andrea. Say goodbye to the keyboard and hello to the future of laptop computers. With the MacBook Wheel, Apple has replaced the traditional keyboard with a sleek, touch-sensitive click wheel. Apple CEO Steve Jobs introduced the product yesterday at the annual Mac Expo. Senior product innovator Brian Gilman says the MacBook Wheel will make typing a thing of the past.
At Apple, our philosophy is create products that are simple to use, and nothing's more simple than a single giant button.
Gilman showed me how the revolutionary new computer works.
Just open the Intuitype alphabet menu here, scroll to the letter you need, see? And center click to select it. Then click again to capitalize, and repeat this process for each new letter. It couldn't be simpler.
Huh.
You can also let the predictive sentence technology complete the sentence for you.
Gilman says the MacBook Wheel has also simplified the organization of files, so searching your hard drive will be a snap.
Just press both sides of the wheel concurrently and center click in there. You have an alphabetical listing of every file on your hard drive. Everything is just a few hundred clicks away.
Apple is calling the MacBook Wheel the most intuitive product ever designed.
Here at Apple, we like to think that we're giving customers features they don't even realize they want yet.
While the MacBook Wheel won't hit the shelves for another 3 to 15 months, many Apple users already have it on their wish list.
I'll buy almost anything if it's shiny and made by Apple.
Alex Zalman was one of the lucky few to get to try out a Mac Wheel and spent 45 minutes typing an email to his friend.
I never really realized how much I hated keyboards until I saw this thing. I like how the email automatically says sent from the MacBook Wheel, that way people know you have them.
With a price tag of just under $2,600 for the lowest-end MacBook Wheel, it is an investment. But the super-thin laptop features numerous innovations like the new ultra-thin Hummingbird battery, which can power the MacBook Wheel for a full 19 minutes before needing to be recharged. And the computer is virtually unbreakable unless dropped or hit. But Apple isn't resting on its laurels. Brian Gilman said they are already hard at work on the next generation of the MacBook Wheel, which will be 4 ounces lighter due to its lack of screen hard drive or wheel. For the Onion News Network, I'm Jeff Tate.
Thank you for that, Jeff. It remains to be seen if the wheel will catch on in the business world where people use computers for actual work and not just dicking around. Moving on, police warn that the Sudoku killer will kill either 1, 4, or 9 victims next.
Okay. All right. Ooh. Ooh, what is this? minutes. Glenn Greenwald, Alex Jones, and Destiny. Oh my, was J6 really a coup? Oh boy, hold on. Oh wait, I don't want to read anything. We're gonna do bingo card for that one.
What's your opinion on the claim that saying if we go against Israel, it means that we are anti-Semitism?
There's just no evidence for these claims about a rise of anti-Semitism in Europe, and we have to all renew our battle against anti-Semitism. It's just not true. The opinion polls are pretty clear. By far and away, the most accepted minority in all the Western countries.
That's wild. This was 8 years ago, so 2015, 2 years after Syrian refugee crisis. I wonder, I feel like Syrian refugee crisis, I feel like was driving up a lot of far-right parties. Isn't that what people were worried about with like the AFD for Germany and for that one crazy lady in France? What was her name? Fuck. What was... Wait, was that it? Le Pen? Yeah, it was, yeah. But, yeah, but against Muslims? Yeah, but I feel like whenever far-right people start to get more powerful, I feel like the Jews end up getting thrown in there as well, but...
By far and away are Jews in many of the in Europe and in the United States. And you can see it, for example, in the U.S., where the sign of acceptance, when you know what's called assimilation, has tipped.
The Syrian crisis was after 2015 in Europe? Was it? I thought that all of the immigration shit and everything started around, like, I thought it was basically 2013 and onwards. When was the migrant crisis? Was it far after that? Syrian refugee crisis, Europe. Like right in 2015. In 2014, there were 252,000 irregular arrival, highest number since the Yugoslavia wars in 1992. Yeah, I think it was like 2014, 2015. Yeah. Fuck you.
The sign is always intermarriage. That is, when the dominant culture is willing to marry you. That's the sign of assimilation has tipped, and it's coming to, the friction is, significant friction is coming to an end. Well, in the United States today, I would say there isn't a single ruling class family that hasn't intermarried with Jews. I mean, the premier American family, as all of you know, the premier American family is Bill and Hillary Clinton, the premier political family. They had one child. The one child married a Jew.
Can you explain the Sweden meme? Like, is it a real issue? I think the three big problems with the Swedish shit is that one, they took in way too many refugees as a percentage of their population. Two, they have trouble being honest about like the issues that they have relating to immigrant assimilation. And three, they had a lot of really weird rules around like making it really hard for refugees and immigrants to work. So like you would end up like taking in a refugee, and for like stupid reasons, they couldn't actually get a job for 1 to 2 years, and it was just like a clusterfuck of bad decision making that just makes it like, yeah, dumb.
Second major political family, the Cuomos. Mario Cuomo just passed away. Their daughter, I think, marries a Jew. When Jews are being completely accepted by ruling elites, the dominant class, it's a very hard case to claim that we have a rise of anti-Semitism.
That is such a... I know that he doesn't mean it that way, but that is such a... I'm not trying to exaggerate, but like that sounds like a Nazi statement. He's not... I don't think he's a Nazi. I don't know that. But that's like... That was such a weird statement. That's such a bizarro statement to make. What an unfortunate choice of words. Jesus.
It's the dominant class. Two major political family, the Cuomos. Mario Cuomo just passed away. Their daughter, I think, marries a Jew. When Jews are being completely accepted by ruling elites, the dominant class, it's a very hard case to claim that we're having a rise of anti-Semitism. It's quite the contrary. So what you do find is, if you look at the opinion polls, there is a spike in anti-Semitism, there's a slight increase every time Israel launches one of its murderous invasions. So in 2002, during Operation Defensive Shield, yes, you saw an increase in anti-Semitic acts in Europe, less so in the US. Then 2008-9 during Operation Cast Lead, and then this past summer. That's not anti-Semitism in any meaningful sense. That's a state that calls itself Jewish, carrying on a horrifying way. And so people react to it against Jews. If you want to prevent the anti-Semitism, there's two things you can do. Number one, you can stop committing massacres, and number two, stop calling yourself a Jewish state. Just call yourself Israel. And then I think the number of anti-Semitic acts will go back down, even with before and after the assaults.
What?
Then 2008-9 during Operation Cast Lead, and then this past summer. That's not anti-Semitism in any meaningful sense. That's a state that calls itself Jewish, carrying on a horrifying way. And so people react to it against Jews. If you want to prevent the anti-Semitism, there's two things you can do. Number one, you can stop committing massacres, and number two, stop calling yourself a Jewish state. Just call yourself Israel. And then I think the number of anti-Semitic acts will go back down, even with before and after the assaults. And the third thing is, Martin Luther King, for those of you who know the fellow. I don't know this new generation. All you seem to know is yada, yada, yada. No, that's not fair. Martin Luther King, somebody once said to him, Martin Luther King, if you keep these protests and you keep causing all of this tension and friction and all of this, white people aren't going to love you. And King responded, first, I want them to stop lynching us. And then I'll worry about whether or not they love me. And so one has to have an order of priorities.
It's so wild to quote MLK, who is like staunchly committed to active nonviolence in defense of, yeah, anything happening in the Middle East, but okay.
Of course, prejudices against, not prejudices, there are, call them prejudices, call them stereotypes. So you look at me, most of you are thinking, oh, he must be cheap. Yeah, I'm sure. No, you don't. That just is life. You learn to live with all sorts of what you might call social stigmas. It's not the end of the world. If you had a choice in any European country where they say, oh, yeah, anti-Semitism is going, berserk. Choose any European country. If you're in France, ask yourself a simple question.
Hold on.
If you're in France, would you rather be Jewish or short? Would you rather be Jewish or obese? Or take another one. Would you rather be Jewish or ugly?
Such a, like, you could be Jewish and short, and Jewish and obese, and Jewish and ugly. It's such a weird comparison, but okay. I mean...
No, that's not a joke. Anybody who's realistic about society knows being good looking opens many doors, being ugly closes many doors. That's life. You learn to live with it. You don't make like, the world is so plagued with so many horrifying crimes, so much suffering. So somebody thinks I'm cheap. Okay, I can live with it. Especially because
the more I listen to Finkelstein, the more I hear his like rhetoric and arguments like from everybody. I wonder if Katie got her arguments from him, where Katie's like, okay, well, what is anti-Semitism? Like, people think you're cheap, right? That comment he made. And maybe there are Jews that complain about this type of anti-Semitism. That might be the case, and I just haven't seen it. I fully admit that could be the case. There are a lot of Jews that complain about, like, negative Jewish stereotypes on like being cheap or whatever. Maybe they are. But I feel like when I hear about anti-Semitism and everything, the vast majority of the complaints are usually beliefs of Jewish domination or control of the world's ruling class and banking systems and media behind the scenes. I feel like that's most of the time when I'm hearing about anti-Semitism. But maybe there are a lot of Jews that complain about this shit. I don't know.
Because I got an excellent education. I had every opportunity in life in the United States. Went to the best schools. I got to devote my life to reading, which I happen to love to do. So, okay, some people have some prejudices about me. But if you take it at the legal level, you're not better than anybody else.
That's also a weird... don't make me simp for Jews. Jews are doing better than everyone else. I mean, like, depends on how you measure better. I mean, they're pretty wealthy, but, like, their population still hasn't recovered from the Holocaust, and they... I mean, like, if you compare them to, say, like, Muslims, right? They have, like, one country versus, you know, how many Muslim majority countries. Like, what do you mean by doing better than everyone else? Like, they're wealthy in the countries they tend to be in. Sure, that's true, generally speaking, but... that Mr. Girl became a physicist? Oh yeah, he's got like a theory of everything now, or he thinks that like we're in a black hole or something. I thought that was a joke. Is that real? I hope anything is real. I think it's real. The universe is a black hole. In this essay, I theorized the following. 1. A universe and a black hole are the same thing. A black hole is a universe as theorized from across an event horizon. 2. Time flowed more slowly in the past and there was no Big Bang or Big Birth. Time flow has been exponentially increasing since the formation of the universe. 3. Time flow increasing over time, the universe is much younger and much slower than thought. A black hole is a potential reality that remains empty until an observer, you, enters it. Watch the video. I think that's it. Lex is working on setting this 2v2 debate up. I guess we'll see what happens. But he says he wants me and Norm to be involved, so who knows. Oh, also, this comment is unhinged. You guys are getting an official verbal warning. The more I learn about the conflict, the more I hear pro-Palestine regards talking about it, retards talking about it, the more pro-Israel I'm becoming. Fuck Palestine and fuck everyone who supports this terrorist scum. They've squandered every single opportunity for peace and should be forcibly expelled from the region. Maybe go live in Iran. I'm sure they'll take you in. This is an unhinged comment. 23 upvotes, guys. Unhinged. Okay, take a break. You need a historian. Finkelstein will bring up the most obscure historical factoids to get an overview. No, I don't think he will. I don't think he knows any. But we'll find out. We'll find out. Oh, my ally, my partner, though, will probably be a historian, I hope. I would agree to participate in a serious debate on the Israel-Palestine conflict be moderated by you, Lex, so long as it is indeed a substantive exchange, not the equivalent of consecutive tweets cribbed from Wikipedia. Mr. Shapiro and Mr. Destiny, beware. I would also require the brilliant Muin Rabbani as my debating partner. I would therefore urge those who would want me to participate to check my name and add Mr. Rabbani's name under the other. He's a senior fellow at the Institute for Palestine Studies. Three U.S. troops are killed and 25 injured in drone strikes by Iran-backed militia in Jordan, the U.S. says. I'm not even aware of Iranian-backed militias in Jordan, so that's pretty wild. Columbia, SC. Wait, what does this mean? The City of Columbia, South Carolina? Or what the fuck does this stand for? Is that like where this guy's writing the article from, or... Yes, it's where he's writing the article from. You've never seen that done? I don't know. I feel like it's usually... Yeah. No, you're right. But why would you... APA format? Okay, interesting. Whatever. 3 American troops were killed, 25 were injured Sunday in a drone strike in northeast Jordan near the Syrian border. The U.S. military said President Joe Biden blamed Iran-backed militia. Oh, I'm sorry. They're going to be Iran-backed militias in Syria, not in Jordan. That's my guess, I think. The U.S. military said President Joe Biden blamed Iran-backed militias for the first U.S. fatalities after months of strikes by the groups against American forces across the Middle East amid the Israel-Hamas war. With an an increasing the risk of military. This is a typo, I think, right? The shouldn't be in here. With an increasing risk of military escalation in the region, U.S. officials were working to conclusively identify the precise group responsible for the attack, but they have assessed that one of several Iranian-backed groups was behind it. Biden said the United States will hold all of those responsible to account at a time and in a manner of our choosing. Iran-backed fighters in East Syria began evacuating their posts, fearing U.S. airstrikes, according to Omar Abu Layla, a Europe-based activist who heads the Deir Ezor 24 media outlet. He told the Associated Press that the areas are the strongholds of Mayadeen and Bukamal. According to a U.S. official, the number of troops wounded in the attack by a one-way attack drone may grow. The official, who spoke on condition of anonymity to discuss details not made public, said a large drone struck the base, which 2 other American officials identified as an installation in Jordan and as Tower 22. It is along the Syrian border and is used largely by troops involved in the Advise and Assist mission for Jordanian forces. The small installation, which Jordan does not publicly disclose, includes U.S. engineering, aviation, logistics, and security troops. The U.S. military base at Al-Tanf in Syria is just 20 kilometers or 12 miles north of Tower 22. The Jordanian installation provides a critical logistical hub for U.S. forces in Syria, including those at Al-Tanf, which is near the intersection of the Iraq, Syria, and Jordan borders. Jordanian state television quoted Muhannad Mubaidin, a government spokesman, as insisting the attack happened across the border in Syria. U.S. troops long have used Jordan, a kingdom bordering Iraq, Israel, the Palestinian territory of the West Bank, Saudi Arabia, and Syria as a basing point. U.S. Central Command put the toll at 3 killed and 25 injured. Some 3,000 American troops typically are stationed in Jordan. Since the war in Gaza began on October 7th, Iranian-backed militias have struck American military installations in Iraq more than 60 times, and in Syria more than 90 times, with a mix of drones, rockets, mortars, and ballistic missiles. Since the war in Gaza began, Iranian-backed militias struck American military forces in Iraq more than 60 times, and in Syria more than times. I didn't know that, jeez. The attack Sunday was the first targeting American troops in Jordan. Were these, like, all of these were zero fatality events? Is that why we didn't hear about them, or...? The attack Sunday was the first targeting American troops in Jordan during the Israel-Hamas war, and the first to result in the loss of American lives. Scores of U.S. personnel have been wounded, including some with traumatic brain injuries during the attacks. Oh, wait. Okay, so no fatalities, but lots of casualties. The militias have said that their strikes are in retaliation for Washington's support for Israel in the region in Gaza, and have also said they aim to push U.S. forces out of the region. The U.S. in recent months have struck targets in Iraq, Syria, and Yemen to respond to attacks on American forces in the region and to deter Iranian-backed Houthi rebels from continuing to threaten commercial shipping in the Red Sea. Biden, who was in Columbia, South Carolina on Sunday, was briefed by Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin, National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan, and Principal Deputy National Security Advisor John Feiner. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre said, he was expected to meet again with his national security team later Sunday. The president called it a despicable and wholly unjust attack and said the service members were risking their own safety for the safety of their fellow Americans and our allies and partners with whom we stand in the fight against terrorism, in a fight we will not cease. Syria is still in the midst of a civil war and long has been a launch pad for Iranian-backed forces there, including the Lebanese militia Hezbollah. Iraq has multiple Iranian-backed Shiite militias operating there as well. Jordan, a staunch Western ally and a crucial power in Jerusalem for its oversight of holy sites there, is suspected of launching airstrikes in Syria to disrupt drug smugglers, including one that killed 9 people earlier this month. An umbrella group for Iran-backed factions, known as the Islamic Resistance in Iraq, earlier claimed launching explosive drone attacks targeting 3 areas in Syria, as well as one inside of occupied Palestine. The group has claimed responsibility for dozens of attacks against bases housing U.S. troops in Iraq and Syria since the Israel-Hamas war began. What's up?